Ducks Takes.
All right, Ross. We'll start the Vikings. They signed tight end TJ Hockenson to a long-term deal, making him the highest-paid tight end in the league at $17.25 million a year.
Two thoughts on the TJ Hockenson contract with the Vikings. Number one, yet another example of a hold-in working. Hockenson wasn't really practicing until he got the deal. He didn't get fined a single dollar. He was there in the meetings. He didn't miss anything. He didn't get fined anything. He didn't take any injury risk, and he got his money. Well done. Hold-ins are what people should do. The second thing is, and I know longevity and injuries are a part of this, but as it relates to the whole, running backs don't matter and all that stuff conversation, you will never, ever convince me that TJ Hockenson is more than twice as valuable as Dalvin Cook, or that TJ Hockenson makes more than twice a difference in the outcome of games as Dalvin Cook. I don't believe that, and you'd have a really tough time convincing me of that.
Another market resetting contract, the Dolphins make Alec Ingold the highest paid fullback in the AFC, and they also put Jeff Wilson on the PUP.
I don't even know, Jack, if I knew that Jeff Wilson was banged up. That was interesting to me when the Dolphins put him on the PUP. But what it kind of tells me is, especially for fantasy folks, and we'll be all over that on the Fantasy Feast with Joe Dolan on Wednesday and Thursday. But, man, that's good for Raheem Mostert for the first 4 games and good for Devin Achane the first 4 games, the rookie from Texas A&M. No Jeff Wilson means that those two guys are going to get the lion's share of the touches. As for Ingold, what I find so interesting about that, he's still not getting paid more than Juszczyk out in the NFC for the Niners, but most teams still don't have a fullback. Most teams still don't really believe in having a fullback. Yet, isn't it interesting that some of the best offenses, some of the best teams in recent years, the Niners, the Dolphins, we talked about that with Greg Cosell last week, how much he loves the Dolphins offense. He was like waxing poetic. They have fullbacks. Interesting. It's something that makes you think a little bit, right? And I'll tell you why. Number one, most guys aren't used to going against fullbacks. So it adds an element schematically that the defenses don't see a lot. And then the players, the safeties, the corners sometimes, the outside backers, they're not used to taking on fullbacks. They're not used to knowing how to fit some of those runs with a fullback. So there's a lot of value in what some of these fullbacks represent. And obviously the Dolphins feel that way about Alec Ingold, making him even higher paid than Patrick Ricard out there with the Baltimore Ravens, who I don't even know how much the Ravens are going to use Ricard right now. Here's what I do know. Did the game go to timeout? It's time to order on DoorDash. Wait, is it halftime? That's ordering time. 2-minute warning? You got it. That's your cue to order in. Get everything you want delivered while you root for your squad. Yeah, that means burgers, fries, drinks, you name it. And if you have a Dash Pass membership, you can get the new Wendy's loaded nacho cheeseburger delivered. Yeah, right now, the loaded nacho cheeseburger is exclusively available with Dash Pass at participating U.S. Wendy's for a limited time.
Texans signed running back Mike Boone and linebacker Corey Littleton.
I got to say, by the way, Jack, between Labatt and DoorDash, our sales folks are killing it, man. These are the type of advertisers I like. This is my wheelhouse right now. DoorDash and Labatt. Thank goodness somebody clearly listens to the show or gets the show. Makes me happy. What did you even say? Oh yeah. So Texans signing. I think for the most part this will be over now. until after week one. Some guys will get signed after week one because if they're on the opening day roster in week one, their salary is guaranteed if they're a veteran in their fifth year or later. So some guys will get signed after week one now at this point, but some teams don't really care about that, and they're like, no, we want these guys on our roster now. And for the Texans, that was Mike Boone and Corey Littleton.
The Patriots claimed Matt Corral off the waivers from the Carolina Panthers.
They did, and they're getting a lot of praise for that, and that's fine, because remember, they're the ones that traded the pick originally, Jack, to the Panthers so the Panthers could draft Matt Corral. So the Patriots got whatever it was from the Panthers, I think like this year's third-round pick or something crazy. I forget exactly what it was, so that the Panthers could draft Corral in the fourth round, I believe, last year or whatever, something like that. And then 1 year later, the Panthers cut him, and the Patriots get him for nothing, which is kind of funny. That said, I mean, the Panthers clearly were not enamored with Matt Corral. I think the likelihood that Matt Corral ends up being a productive player for the Patriots, probably not real good, but maybe they like him more. Maybe they end up liking him more as a backup than Bailey Zappi. They obviously don't like Bailey Zappi that much. I'm a little surprised Bailey Zappi even stayed there on practice squad because you get drafted in the fourth round, you start a couple games and play pretty well, and then the next year they cut you. That just shows the Patriots don't really value Bailey Zappi that much. They were willing to risk another team claiming him on waivers.
Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp suffered a setback with his hamstring.
Not good, Jack. I mean, they already, I think, are probably going to be a pretty rough team to watch this year. And I almost wonder sometimes, I think they tried to trade Matthew Stafford reportedly, but it's going to be, it feels like there's a couple-year rebuild that needs to happen there, and they need Cooper Kupp. I mean, you look at their skill guys on offense, they really, really need Cooper Kupp. Defensively, they've got a lot of inexperienced guys, and I saw Cooper Kupp went to see some body specialist or performance specialist in Minnesota because he's having these recurring hamstring issues. That is obviously not a very good sign for the LA Rams. I wouldn't expect to see him, quite frankly, anytime soon, because what they don't want to have happen is they don't want to have him have another setback during the season. So they're probably going to wait until they feel confident he's like 100% ready before they put him back out there in a game. So I wouldn't expect, if you still haven't done your fantasy draft yet, I wouldn't expect Cooper Kupp to play the first couple games, at a minimum, to be honest with you.
Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans' agent, he sets a September 9th deadline for a new contract.
So I think I'm going to make this, Jack, my Labatt take of the week, just because I don't know what takes I'll have later in the week, and I feel pretty strongly about this one on a couple different levels. As a reminder, the Labatt take is presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together so you can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Two thoughts on the Mike Evans contract deadline. Number one, no problem with his agent doing this because, Mike wants to get one more big bite at the apple before he goes into this last year, before he potentially gets injured, before his production goes down with a quarterback that's not Tom Brady. So very understandable from Mike Evans' standpoint that he wants to get this contract done now. From the Bucs standpoint, though, does it make sense to give Mike Evans this big contract? I would argue it probably makes more sense to consider trading Mike Evans. This is going to be a rough year, I think, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let's be honest, they're in a rebuild, whether or not they admit that or not. Ryan Jensen, likely to never play again at center, is devastating to an offensive line that already had some question marks on the right side. Obviously, the quarterback situation is a major question mark. I think if I'm the Bucs, I strongly consider trading Mike Evans if there's a team out there that's willing to give you some legit draft picks in return, and just be honest with yourself that you're not going anywhere this year, and maybe not for the next couple years until you get a better quarterback. I don't think Baker Mayfield's that guy, and Mike Evans getting up there in years now. Might make sense to trade him. I would at least strongly consider it if I were the Tampa Bay Bucks. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.